I think it was early 2021. So the first quarter of 2021 when we actually put shovels in the ground and started the work.
Ah.
Okay. We were 2 months, maybe 3 months into this, right? Or maybe 4 months, I forget exactly, when we got a court order that said, you've got to stop working.
Oh, really? Huh?
Because somebody nearby put a claim that this
On
is
the
our
land?
on the land, that this is our ancestral land. These guys shouldn't be allowed to build here. And essentially it was land mafia, which is a big problem in Pakistan, which I was not aware of at the time. And so we had to go to court. We had to navigate the legal system. Not fun.
So while this is happening, you can't build?
No, it was
Okay.
freeze.
Okay.
Right? So everything came to a grinding halt.
Hey, Kashan, thank you very much for coming. I know you have a busy schedule and you took time out for this conversation. I know it's an important project that you're doing in Pakistan, and I wanted to talk to you about it and learn what you're up to. How did you get involved? Could you please let me know how it all started? What's your involvement, and where is the project right now? Just a quick brief about it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me, Yasir. So the project is called Basera Trust. Basera Trust was established in 2001. So it's been around for a while. It was founded by a gentleman named Fazil Utmanzai. And he initially set it up as a educational project for homeless children. As he started to do that the first few years, he realized that the bigger issue for these children was that they had no place to live. So he decided to focus on the shelter aspect of it, and along with taking care of education, obviously. And since then, it's just grown, and it's just been something that he's devoted his life to. So several years back, there was an earthquake in Kashmir. And when that happened, there was a lot of devastation, and homes were destroyed, and obviously a lot of people died. And there were a lot of children from there that became homeless and lost their parents and became orphaned. So Fazil got connected somehow with Children of Hope. So it's a Toronto-based charity, and they help to support and fund child like projects for orphan children and that sort of thing in various countries. So they do really great work. So somehow they got connected with Children of Hope, and at the time we knew some of the folks at Children of Hope, and at the time it was my mother actually who talked to Children of Hope, and they asked her that, because she used to travel a lot back and forth between Toronto and Islamabad in Pakistan. So, and she'd spend a few months every year over there. So the folks at Children of Hope said, well, since you're in Islamabad, we got this project in Islamabad. It's called Basera Trust. And, it'd be really helpful for us if we had somebody that could kind of represent Children of Hope, go there, take a look firsthand, and kind of get a sense for the work that they're doing, and meet with the children and that sort of thing, right? So that happened, and I think that was probably around 2012-ish when she first got involved, right? And so she went, she visited, and it really moved her. She met with the children, and so since she did that, she kind of stayed in touch. Okay. And so at least a couple of times a year, if not more, she would be, she'd be connected to Basera Trust, and then she'd often go and visit, meet the children, send them stuff, help them at times, Ramadan and Eid and that sort of thing. And so she had this connection that, that year after year, she's kind of, it became part of her focus to look after Basera while she was there. And she also ended up kind of in a mentorship role with Fazil, right?
Okay.
So Fazil, I can't really praise him enough. He's a selfless man. He's devoted his life to this project and continues to. This is his thing. and just looking after those children and raising those children like a father is his life's mission, right? So, so she got connected with him and provided some mentorship and stayed in touch and all of that over the years. And she, her routine was, she'd be here for 2-3 months, then she'd fly back. She'd be there for a couple months, fly back, and so 2 or 3 times a year she was there on the ground, and she'd be, doing this. I'm going to fast forward a little bit of the history because there's a lot of history. Mm-hmm. But in 2020, COVID happened. There was lockdowns, everything. My mom, despite her medical conditions, would still go, and she would take all those risks and everything that her doctors would tell her not to. But she was on her mission. So it was part of the work that she did. So she'd go, and she went in 2020, and she got COVID. And it was pretty severe. She was hospitalized, and we got a call from relatives, and my brother and I, we rushed and got on the next flight to go there and be with her, and we were honestly really, really scared, just hoping that when we land,
that was the height of COVID, 2020.
That was the height of COVID. We're talking about like May, June.
Yeah, that was the peak
of 2020, and that was when the hospitals were full. There was no space. And when before we flew here, we knew that they were having trouble finding her a spot in the hospital, mm-hmm. and they'd been to 3 or 4 hospitals. There was no places and so on. So we got on a plane, and when we landed there, thank God she was in a hospital and getting treatment, and she was admitted for 3 weeks there during COVID. And it was complete lockdown, right? For us to visit her, we had to have full body, PPE suits and the whole 9 yards. Anyway, alhamdulillah, she got better over time. And but while she was in the hospital, and my brother and I were there. It was kind of like the first time that both of us were there at the same time in Pakistan. And we both lived there for about 10 years, so we did have some kind of childhood, teenage memories and stuff. So it was, and plus the whole city, the whole country. But I mean, for us, the whole city was on lockdown. Mm-hmm. You couldn't really go anywhere. You couldn't really do much. You couldn't visit people or anything. So we had a lot of time on our hands, and it was just the two of us. So we were essentially for those weeks, we're shuttling between home and the hospital every day. That was our routine, and in between we had time. And so one day we were visiting her, and she's feeling a little bit better. She was in the hospital, and she said, "Listen, since you guys are here, I'm feeling much better. I'm doing, hopefully I'm going to get better. I want you to go visit Basera, and I want you to, go to see what they're up to. They've been saving up to try and buy a little bit of land so that they can, possibly build a permanent home." Up until this time, the children were moving. So every couple of years, they would have to vacate the home, rent a new one, move everything, all the kids, everybody, to a new location, set up their home there, and then maybe that would last a year or 2 or 3, and then they'd have to move again. And so they'd been doing this process, and it's painful. And obviously, there was also the concern that, how is this going to be sustainable, right? So they were trying to establish a permanent home. So she basically said, "Listen, guys, can you, it would mean the world to me if you guys could go there, take a look, and see, is there any way we can help them out?" Mm-hmm. So the two of us went. We had a meeting with Fazil. We kind of, he told us a little bit about the land and the location that they were able to acquire. And so, they put a bit of a down payment, and the seller was, wanted to help out. So the seller, was very cooperative and said, "Okay, you can pay us in installments, and, they were very flexible."
Knowing the kind of project is.
Exactly. Exactly. So they told us about that, and then so.
Is it the same land that it's being built right now?
That's right.
Same piece of land? Okay.
That's right. So we started making some notes, right? We're like, okay, well, let's, we're just talking right now. Okay, let's make some notes here. So what would you need, right? What are we looking at in terms of what type of space, accommodation, how many children, this, that. So we started making some scribbles and, in my rough notes in my terrible handwriting, and I probably still have that somewhere. We started with that, right? And from those scribbles, we came back that day, and my brother and I basically said, listen, let's try and help them build this home.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had some more sessions to figure out, okay, well, how do we, let's think a little bit more long-term. Let's think a little bit out of the box here, right? So based on the land that they had, and based on there was some adjacent land that they had, the seller basically offered that, okay, if you guys are interested, you can buy up more of this land and we'll give you first right of refusal on this. And we started thinking, okay, well, we're looking at something that's been running for almost 20 years. None of us is going to be around forever. How can we build this into an initiative that outlives all of us, that just keeps going, right? So as we started to plan for the building, it just started to become, okay, well, we need this and we need that. And what about growth and expansion? And what about this? And it just started growing. Mm-hmm. And we decided there that, okay, let's try and make this happen. And when we did that, we started talking to people. We started talking to friends. We started talking to, people that, and telling them about Basera and what they're doing.
The vision.
And we just found that everybody we talked to, we were getting such amazing feedback, right? That, yes, absolutely. How can I help? And it just sort of snowballed, right? And we got a friend of mine introduced us to somebody who has a construction firm. We had a meeting with them, and they said, "Listen, we were looking for a project like this because we want to give back, and what better way than to build something that's going to be for orphan and homeless children." So what we're going to do is we're going to give you all of our professional services at no cost. We are going to, not only that, we're going to project manage the entire thing for you at no cost. And because we're in the construction business, we're going to help you source all the material that you need at cost. So you won't be able to build it cheaper any other way. Mm-hmm. We were just floored.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Like, wow, right? And alhamdulillah, we're a few years into this project, and they've not only lived up to their commitment, they've far exceeded it, right? So, Akbar Bhai, kudos to him. He's just been an amazing supporter, friend of Basera, mentor, and all around, just tremendous help. And then we had he brought one of their partners to the table, who was a person, one of their colleagues to the table, who was an architect. So Salim Rahman Saab. He had recently retired.
Okay.
This is, I'm talking about 2000, summer of 2000, right? So we came back. My mom got discharged from the hospital. We came back to Toronto, and coincidentally, Akbar Bhai from Lahore was traveling, and his kids are in the GTA, so he was here, and he introduced us to Salim Saab, and so Salim Bhai was living in Mississauga because he had recently retired, and his kids were here, so he came to spend time with his kids, and so we all got together and we had a session, and he's an amazing and highly qualified and experienced architect.
Cool.
He retired as the chief architect for the government of Punjab. Mm-hmm. So he had a lot of, such a wealth of experience under his belt. And he volunteered his services that, okay, I'm going to help you design this whole thing. In fact, when we had the first meeting, just from verbal conversations and from my rough scribbles that were passed along through Akbar Bhai, we had a meeting with Salim Bhai, and the three of us sat together, and he actually showed us a hand-drawn sketch which he had already created. He'd been thinking, and he had a whole design in his mind, and he put it down on paper, right? All done by pencil, by hand, And in that first meeting, he laid it out on his dining room table, and I was just amazed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my God, wow. Right? So he dreamt up the whole thing, and he thought of everything, and it was such an elaborate and well thought out plan. So that's kind of how this whole thing started.
Okay.
Right?
And
And
so it seems like, when you set on a mission, so things start falling in place,
Yeah.
like before, when you were talking to your brother, it seemed like, a huge project, but when you break it down and when you decide that you're going to do it and you meet people, things seems to become feasible and easier, but of course they are not. What's the you're talking about very highly about Fazil. How did he come up with the idea, or what's his motivation to help orphan kids, and like where does he get the inspiration from?
Well, Fazil is, he is such a phenomenal person. There's very few people. It's a rare breed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think, in a young age, I guess was involved in some family disputes and I wouldn't say family disputes, but disputes in his village and stuff with other people, where I think he was severely injured,
Okay.
and he ended up being bedridden for quite an extended period of time.
Okay.
And I think for him, again, I'm giving you the secondhand story. You really ought to do a session with him.
I would do that. Yes.
But from what I understand, after having heard the story before, this was kind of a new beginning for him,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I mean, at that time, I think he was still in his 20s when this happened, right? But having gone through that traumatic ordeal and suffering, severe injuries, and then, being bedridden for an extended period of time. And then I think somewhere along the way, he basically just kind of made his intention and his kind of commitment that I just want to do something for the greater good, and I'm going to devote my life to this, right?
That's amazing.
I survived this, something which I probably shouldn't have survived, and God's given me, a new lease on life, and so this is what I'm going to do. And so when he got back on his feet, I guess where he started was with children's education and focusing on homeless children, right? So at that time, I believe there was a lot of child labor and over there with a lot of homeless children. They're either there's so many people out there that are exploiting
Mm-hmm.
these children, right?
Of course,
where they will either force them to beg, or it's actually human trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
or they get them to scrimmage through trash to find like.
And a lot of kids go through this abuse. A lot of kids.
Yeah.
A lot of poor kids. Yeah.
So he wanted to help this. I remember he was telling me it's street children.
Yes.
The children with no home, the children that are just that live on the streets. So he started with education,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had some great mentorship as well. Actually, I don't have all of the names, but I know that I guess one of the founders of Sultana Foundation,
Okay.
perhaps Naeem Ghani Sahab,
Okay.
was one of his early mentors. And I think in when he was a little bit into this project, and if you go on YouTube, you'll see there's videos and there's very, very old history of what Basera used to do, right? And he's got images and stuff. But what he found was that he was trying to educate the children, but the children had bigger issues, right? Because they needed food. They needed a place to
Shelter.
to live. So what he ended up doing was, some of the children that he was trying to educate, they had no place to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So he started to give them a place to sleep, right? So he brought them in and I remember seeing some pictures where he just set up beds, and just let them come and sleep the night there, and then they'd go and they'd do whatever they do during the day.
That would just be for them to sleep at night, and then
sleep at night,
wow.
right? And then they would go and do what they do in their day, and they'd come and they'd learn. He would try to teach them, but then they'd have to do whatever they had to do. But he gave them a place where they could crash, right? So that was something that he started off with, and then I guess that sort of became the focus, because it turned out that I guess he came to the realization, and the mentors with a lot of mentorship as well. He decided that, listen, there's a lot of people that are focusing on education. There's a lot of schools, public, private, so on, but there's so many children that have this basic necessities just not there. They don't have shelter, right? They don't have a roof over their head at night. So he decided, you know what, I'm just going to focus on this. And what I'm going to do is, and so that's how this whole thing started, right? So the model then, and even today, the model is very similar, right? Where the children that come to Basera, they're basically provided a home, 24/7 though, right? So it's not that they just sleep at night and they disappear in the morning. So they're provided a home. They're provided with obviously shelter, food, clothing, access to education, and some structure. So, but as far as the schooling is concerned, most of the children are enrolled in schools. So they drop them off at school, they pick them up after school, and then they take care of extracurriculars, they take care of medical needs, they do all those things. And now what we're finding is that quite often some of the children, they don't fit in school because maybe they've never been to a formal school before, and they're not at the right age, right? So, if you've got somebody who's already 10 years old or 11 or 12 years old, and they've never been to school, and they've got to start from grade 1, for example, the schools don't want to put a 10-year-old or 11-year-old with 5 and 6-year-old kids. So that becomes a bit of a problem, right? So how do you get them up to the level where they fit in the age group that they belong in? So there's a lot of homeschooling going on as well now in Basera, right?
Okay.
So, and we're actually, with the new facility, we're planning to do more of that because
to get them up to the speed for the age
exactly. Yeah. So it's just that it requires personal and individual attention because every kid is at a different level.
Of course. Yeah.
And they're coming from different backgrounds, in some cases different languages. So getting them up to a certain level where they fit within the system can be a challenge, and the requirement to get them there is not always the same for every child.
So what I understand from this conversation is that the new Basera home that's being built, it's not functional yet. So where are these kids staying right now? Is it still the rented place that he used to do, or he used to be putting the kids in, and is it still the same?
Yeah, there's 3 rented locations right now.
Okay.
They're all near each other. 2 are side by side, and then there's another one nearby. So one houses the girls, one houses the younger boys, and then there's another location nearby with the older boys.
It's of course difficult to manage when there's 3 different locations.
Yeah,
kids, especially managing kids at 3 different locations. You need more manpower. Of course, you want to build this new structure as soon as you can.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you're facing? Are there like funding or administrative? What are the issues that you're facing in the completion of this new house?
Well, at a high level, all of the above.
All of the above. Yeah.
But I think over time, what we found is that the funding part, of course, while it's extremely necessary and it's an ongoing need, right? I think what have experienced over the past few years is that we've just had such an amazing network of support, right, from donors and partners and people who have contributed financially, but also in terms of expertise, knowledge, and support and knowledge and awareness and all those things. So I think I can say that the amount of love and support that we've received from the entire, we call it the Friends of Basera network, right?
Community, yeah.
And the community has just been amazing, right? I don't think we're done. We probably still need more support, but it's not, I wouldn't say that that's at the top of my list when it comes to the worries, right? When you talk about
worries,
when you talk about challenges, I was talking about COVID, right? That the concept started in 2020, okay?
The concept of Basera?
Well, the concept of I would say the
building of
the building, the design and the new building, right? So Basera obviously predates all of that, right? But in 2020 is when we embarked on the journey that we want to build a permanent home, so that we can, create an ongoing, perpetual.
And this was timing couldn't be worse because the COVID hit probably at the same time.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, COVID had already hit.
COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was during lockdown. I remember we were having these meetings outside in the summer and fall of 2020. Some of these design meetings that I was talking about, right? We were having them. We had one meeting at Salim Saab's dining room table with masks on, but we had meetings outside because. Of the fear, right? Of course, being in a closed room and, the unknown and getting sick and all those things, right? So, but I think it was early 2021, so the first quarter of 2021, when we actually put shovels in the ground and started the work.
Wow.
Okay. We were 2 months, maybe 3 months into this, right? Or maybe 4 months, I forget exactly. When we got a court order that said, you've got to stop working.
Oh, really? Huh?
Because somebody nearby put a claim that this is
on the land,
that this is our ancestral land. These guys shouldn't be allowed to build here. And essentially it was land mafia, which is a big problem in Pakistan, which I was not aware of at the time. And so we had to go to court. We had to navigate the legal system. Not fun.
So while this is happening, you can't build?
No, it was freeze.
Okay.
Right? So everything came to a grinding halt. Okay. Then that process, with the help of our amazing lawyers who, again, helped us out pro bono, countless, all the work that they did was just amazing. It took about 10 months, 11 months to work our way through the court system, right? And I'm told that was pretty quick. That was very quick.
Honestly, it seems quick in Pakistan.
Yeah. In Pakistan, I think these things go on for years and years, right? Yeah. But those 10, 11 months to us felt like years.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Because, we were not familiar with how things, You have to realize it's a developing country. It's a third world country, so to speak, as much as I don't like saying that. But, there's just... Things do not just happen smoothly the way we're used to in North America, right? Unexpected surprises every step of the way, right? So this was the first one. We wasted 10 or 11 months on that.
Okay.
Right? That set us back. Now that brings us to end of first Q1, probably early. Actually, no, it was Q2 of 2022.
Yeah.
When we finally got that done. Okay. And when we got it done, I think it was Ramadan at the time when this got settled, and we were probably halfway into Ramadan.
Okay.
So we had to wait because in Pakistan, at the end of Ramadan, all your staff, your labor, your workforce, and everybody goes away. It's holiday season. Okay. So it's like, you're ready to get started. If you're in North America, it's like, yep, we're ready to start construction again. And it's December 18th.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right. Finding people who are going to do the work. Right.
Yeah. So
it was like, okay, well, come back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then let's talk about gradually resuming work. Right. So net, we wasted about a year.
Okay.
Now, it was almost summer of 2022. We finally got the work resumed, and then it was like, okay, full steam ahead. We built a wall around the whole property to secure it. We don't want any more land mafia problems. We don't want any more squatters. We don't want to deal with this stuff. And so we resumed work. It was, full steam ahead, and we made some good progress. But I think that we spent about that was halfway into 2022, about 13, 14 months
Of construction.
right? So mind you, what I forgot to mention was what we ended up designing was a fairly huge structure.
Okay.
Right, because we were thinking very long term, right? So we wanted to build something that so the full building design was intended to accommodate up to 500 children.
Okay.
Okay. So we embarked on saying, okay, well, we're going to do the first phase, which is going to be the half of the building, right?
Okay.
So the additional 2 stories, we're not doing that yet, but even that was 25,000 square feet.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's a big project.
So it was an ambitious project, right? So that, and especially in in a place like Pakistan, we're talking about concrete structures and stuff. So it takes time. It's not prefab. It's not lumber and stuff. It's like,
especially the ground up. It takes that's where it's going to take the most time.
Yeah. So 13, 14 months of work. Okay, and we're feeling pretty good about this. Okay, so this brings us to I guess. Almost the last quarter of 2023. Okay. And this was, I remember I was there actually because I was there towards the end of September of 2023. And at the time we were saying, okay, you know what, if we could only, within the next 3-4 months, we should be in a stage where, or maybe 4 or 5 months, we should be in a move-in ready state where we can get all the kids in and we can, start to operate from
populate
the home,
the building.
Right?
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of October, we had to stop work again.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The local development authority, the local municipal authority is called CDA, Capital Development Authority. They came and said you have to stop work because you have to get your plans approved and all that. Now, the place where we were constructing previously, there was no plan approval process in that area. Okay, everybody was just building. It was outside of the main main Islamabad area where they control zoning and all those things, right? So when we started the project, we designed everything to abide, to kind of with this thing in mind that in the future we're going to have to make sure that we comply with all these local bylaws and all those things. But in that area where we were building, there was no current bylaws or anything like that, right? There was no approval process at the time. So CDA came to us and said, no, you got to get this approved and you got to get it normalized. Until you do that, no more work.
Wow.
Okay.
Another stoppage.
So October. And again, we're back to, the same
this
situation.
This is October 23?
23.
Okay.
And now we are in July of 24. And we still haven't been able to resume work.
Wow.
So we're at month 10. And for the last 10 months, we've been trying to navigate bureaucracy to get this through the system, to get the approval to go ahead and resume work.
And how far the structure is, in terms of...
Well, we have in those, a little bit more than a year that we actually were able to work on it. We've got the structure is complete.
Okay.
Almost complete. The structure for phase 1, other than I think the main stairwell, but other than that, we've got about 25,000 square feet of structure built. So our phase 1 goal for the structure. There's some additional things that need to be. So I'd say that structurally we're probably at about between 90 to 95%.
So is it moving?
No. Because that extra 5 to 10% of the structure, the stairwell and some of the ancillary structures that have to be built around it, we couldn't do because the work stopped, right? Mm-hmm. So we're on freeze mode again, right? And the part that is built requires a lot of finishing work.
Of course.
Plumbing, electrical, flooring, windows, doors, all those things, right? Mm-hmm. Lighting, et cetera, et cetera. So we're stuck, right? The work is frozen. We can't do that work. So now month 10, we're still navigating through the red tape. And,
so what do they want? What's taking them to make the decision that, okay, let's get the work going?
Yeah.
This is
This is a question we ask every couple of days when we visit, CDA to find out where are we in the process, what's next, what else do you need from us. So I mean, we're prepared to comply with everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have all our plans, we have everything, but it's just that the process, the government process, seems to be just an endless, iteration of red tape and paper pushing from one desk to another, and when it seems like we made some progress, it turns out there's more process involved, and then we get to there and it turns out there's some more, and then we got to a point. I was back in Islamabad in I guess it was late winter, early spring,
okay.
and I thought we were almost done. And then they kicked us way back to the beginning again. They said, oh, somebody made a mistake in whatever. They evaluated your plans according to a certain type of bylaws, but they should have done it according to... then they basically kicked us. So we were kind of like almost at the end of the line, and they kicked us all the way back to the beginning again. And now we're again going through that whole process all over again.
What I'm understanding from what you're trying to tell me is that they asked you to regularize this project, but they themselves don't have a structure to regularize it. Like, do they know that what they're asking you to do? Do they have a...
That's the thing, right?
That's
like,
the thing, huh?
It's, it seems to us like they don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if they keep asking you to bring more, like, paperwork or more, like, what are they asking you for?
I think it's an endless process of verifications and approvals, and and there's just it's paper pushing. You need I don't know how many thousand signatures on the thing, and everybody has their own, takes their own time to do whatever they do to look at the file and evaluate it and say, okay, fine, move it to the next. Yeah, it just is a never-ending stream.
It's one of those things, in Pakistan or in any developing country where they think that they have a structure, but nobody knows what the structure is. There are laws, but nobody knows what the laws are and how to implement them. And in this type of situation, a project like this, where eventually 500 kids would be having a future rather than being on street, those type of projects get pushed back and delayed. It's unfortunate. I understand that people from all over the world, they're hoping that this project could be completed. And it seems like it's not like the way you're explaining it to me. It doesn't seem like it's a small project anymore.
No, I mean, if we are able to get back to work, well, so first of all, what I should say is that the project is ongoing. The children are being taken care of. There's 75 children right now under Basera's care.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them, there are children who have grown up in Basera and have, moved on. And I mean, we have children that lost their fathers last year in the floods, mm-hmm. right? Or lost both parents. We have children who lost their fathers during the when the anti-terrorism stuff was happening. Drone strikes were mm-hmm. happening. It was the norm in the northern areas of Pakistan, and there was a lot of casualties. So we have children who became orphan due to drone strikes, due to terrorism.
That's sad.
Obviously, the floods that happened, right? Those affected people in the north as well as in the south, in Balochistan. We've got children from Balochistan. So these children are being cared for. They're going to school.
In those three rented.
So the operation is there, right? But obviously, our vision of where we would like to take Basera is on hold. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On hold because there's so many things that we don't have space for right now. Mm-hmm. So getting that structure, which is I think right now if we're able to get back to business and resume construction, hopefully within less than 6 months, we'd be able to move all the children in there.
That's amazing.
Right?
Oh,
And it's a beautiful place, right? I mean, I really encourage you to look and visit if you ever go there.
Yeah.
But we've got pictures and stuff online and videos and stuff, which I can share with you.
Yeah.
But, it's an amazing location. It's a great place for kids to, it's a very peaceful and clean environment, surrounded by nature, and there's some mountains and hills around and stuff. So, I mean, it's a great place for kids to grow up, kind of away from the traffic, away from a lot of the noise pollution and a lot of the pollution. Even where they are right now, I mean, those rented homes that they're in right now, I mean, it's not
meant to be like that.
Yeah, it's not the type of place where I'd like to be raising my children, right? And the new facility, the whole idea was there. Let's design something to the level and standard of where we would like to be. We would be okay having our children there.
It's amazing.
We need to treat those children like
our own children.
Exactly, not like orphans. So that's I guess one of the challenges. Generally speaking, though, I mean, what we've learned over the last few years is trying to get stuff done in a place like Pakistan is not a simple task. Everything that seems simple, it's not. And navigating, I mean, I've only given you a couple of examples, but every single government department that we have to deal with, it's the same thing. It's just friction, lots of red tape, and people tell us, the only way to get stuff done in Pakistan is to pay bribes, and so there's corruption, there's red tape, there's bureaucracy, there's all these things that are slowing you down, holding you back. So we thought that, if you're doing something selfless and it's for a good cause, that we've had so much support, but it seems that when we're dealing with the government, it's, oh my God, it's not that simple, and I don't know, maybe it's partly because of corruption, maybe it's partly because there are people that in the NGO kind of sector that are not all above board, and corruption, people do use NGOs in the wrong ways and stuff. So maybe because of that, the government is extremely cautious. There's more measures and checks and stuff. And so we're, for us, everything is open book, everything's transparent. And, we're trying our best to navigate the system and navigate, all of the bureaucracy and all that stuff, right? And just,
So hopefully once this, you could get the work started and it's completed, you say it would take like another 6 months to get completed. Hopefully once it's done, there's going to be 500 kids there. How do you, I think in a country like Pakistan, I know that there's a lot of kids on street, be it orphans or be it kids who need to work to make everyday living possible for their whole families. Mostly their parents are alive, they're working, but they're like the jobs they're working, they're not paying enough to meet their ends, and they have kids, they work outside, motorcycle, car workshops, cycle workshops, welding stores, and welding workshops, all these places where they work. What's the criteria? Why would you pick a kid to be in this place, and which kid would be denied? Is there a process that you follow?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, you're right. There's a lot of poverty, and there's a lot of
eligible kids who would.
Yeah. The need is so huge.
Yeah.
Okay, that you can't possibly just with one brushstroke say, oh, well, let's fix this. It's such a massive.
Yeah.
There's
and you can't have all of those.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So what we have to do is, we have to kind of create a mandate and create a focus of this is what we're going to focus on. Okay. and we have to try our best to stay within that lane, because if we don't, you can't possibly solve every problem. You can't possibly be the solution, everything to everybody. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work in business, doesn't work in pretty much any aspect. Yeah. So what Basera is focused on is helping orphan and homeless children, right?
Okay.
The definition of orphan, by the way, in Pakistan is a child that doesn't have a father.
Okay.
So their mother may still be alive. What you have to realize, though, in that culture is that, first of all, there's a lot of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
There's hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, there's not a lot of income opportunities, especially for women.
Of course,
right?
yes.
And especially if you're not in the urban areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the city, still women work. But if you're if you live out in a village in a rural area, out in the mountains or in the deep desert or there's countless villages like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no income generating opportunities for women.
Yes.
If the breadwinner of the family is no longer there to care for them, the mother has no way of feeding the child.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that in many of these places, they're coming from remote areas where there's even no schools.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The nearest school is pretty far away. So now, if you don't have transportation, and if you can't afford transportation, or if there's no public school and you can't afford the private school,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many obstacles.
Yeah.
So orphan children, first of all, is the
Okay.
number one criteria, right? So children without a father, okay? And we focus on 4 years old
Okay.
up to a maximum of 14. We tend to try and not push that all the way to 14, but bringing them in at a younger age is the priority.
Okay.
But 4-year-old basically means that they can at least take care of the very basic stuff. They can go to the
Okay.
washroom
Yeah.
themselves and those types of things, right? But there have been exceptions in really extreme circumstances where, we've even had a situation where somebody just left a baby at the doorstep, right? So, I mean, and this type
Like
of stuff.
an infant.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And this type of stuff, it happens. You talk to Fazil, I mean, the stories he's going to tell you is just, oh my God.
Heartbreaking, huh?
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. The one story that really stands out, which he told me, and I can't get that out of my mind. I've told the story so many times, is that there was a little girl who, I forget what her age was at the time, but I think she was more than 3 or 4 years old. And this was an orphan girl, and there was a lady, I think she may have been related one way, I don't know whether she was related or not, but whoever had custody of the child, right?
Mhm.
That lady obviously didn't care for the child, would put the little girl in a chicken coop, lock the cage, and leave in the morning. I don't know what she did.
And the kid would be in that
Would be crying in that cage
the whole day.
the whole day. Fazil went somehow, I guess, through word of mouth and found out what was going on, and went into that home, rescued the child.
And
Right.
brought it to the shelter?
That lady didn't have it wasn't. I don't think she was a legal guardian or anything. Fazil rescued the child from that cage, and then through the local government, because there's paperwork and stuff, right? Whenever a child is admitted into Basera, so they have to go and make sure that there's no
all the legalities.
Yeah, I mean, it's not you have to make sure it's not a missing child. It's just parents are looking for the child. You know what I mean? So did all that and brought her into Basera, and that's the psychological trauma that child
Of course.
went through.
Yeah. Stays with the kid
Yeah,
the whole life.
he was telling me that he had to get her a lot of therapy, a lot of help, just to kind of break out of that,
Mhm.
of that shock shell or whatever, and she just wouldn't speak
Mhm.
for the longest time.
Yeah, there are many there are many
horror stories.
horror stories in developing world, rather throughout the world. Like it just happens that kids are sometimes treated in a way that kids don't deserve to be, and they shouldn't be in that situation. It's a great project. I think it started as a small thing, but now it's a project where there's a lot of ambition, there's a lot of passion behind it. I hope you go through all the obstacles that you're facing right now. The project is on hold at the moment, and I hope it starts quickly. Get back to the construction, and it finishes hopefully next 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. We could see that it's done. Is there what are you hoping to achieve once it's completed? What's your vision? Say, for example, in a year's time, it's done. The building is there. You're close to 500 kids. It's not a small number. You would definitely need a lot of funds to keep it going. What's your vision at that time?
Well, so first of all, just to clarify, we're building phase 1, which is a little bit more than the first half. So there's the basement levels and some of the common areas and 2 complete levels of the building.
Okay.
So this is going to get us to a capacity of somewhere in the range of about 200-ish.
Okay.
In terms of how many kids we can accommodate, right?
This is phase 1.
This is phase 1.
Okay.
That's the part we're looking to complete right now.
Okay.
Because we're not building the entire structure right away. I mean, that has been designed in such a way that you can add on. It can be added. Those additional 2 stories can be added further. A few years into it. But right now, you have to keep in mind we've got 75 children right now.
Okay.
Okay. And so even growing that to 200 is going to take time.
Okay.
Going from 2 or 3 tiny little homes into this new larger building, and then all of the administrative and logistical challenges have to be ironed out.
Yeah.
So once it's ready and we move them. So right now, the way the building is designed, there's a section which is kind of, we call it the rear basement level, which is going to be for the older boys.
Okay.
Okay. So there's going to be, 3 dormitories. There's going to be a common area room for them, which could be like a lounge, gym, kind of a recreation facility. And the dormitories, each dormitory is designed to accommodate up to 16. So we have that section for the elder boys. Then we've got another section where we're going to have 5 dormitories, 5 times 16 and 80 or something like that, 80 capacity for the younger boys. And then there's going to be a common room for recreation and study. And then another separate one for the girls.
Okay.
Again, similarly, right? So that'll get us to about a capacity of 200. And it's a pretty big building.
Of course.
So once we move in there, we're going to have to deal with all these initial growing
hiccups,
pains. Yeah. So we're going to most likely have to beef up our administrative staff and security and those things, and create processes and a lot of these things in terms of just logistically managing who goes where and who can't go where and who goes where at what point in time, and shifts for common areas. There's going to be the dining hall is going to be running shifts. There's going to be classrooms which are going to have a timetable. There's going to be those types of things, right? We're going to hopefully build a facility for arts and crafts and learning various skills and stuff. And we're also thinking of, for some of the older kids, so our goal is also to improve so one is the logistics and kind of how all the building blocks are going to work, right? Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's also putting the team in place to take all of that and start to elevate the whole quality of what we're trying to do, mm-hmm. right? Because we want to raise the profile of these children, right? We want to build some confidence in them. We want to improve. Right now, when we're talking about what we're able to do with a very limited resources and a very tight quarters and stuff. We want to try and overcome a lot of these things and do better. That's the goal, right? So once we get that running like a
Like a smooth operation.
a smooth operation, a well-oiled machine, then we start looking at, okay, now we're going to start to open our doors a little bit and grow and serve more children, right? Also, there's, in terms of long term, we're in touch with schools that are near the new facility about doing partnerships and because we're going to have to move a lot of children to schools that are closer by to where the new project is, as well as building those classrooms in house. We're going to hire teachers. We're going to formalize kind of our in-house education system as well. So there's a lot of this work that has to be done, which I think that's going to take us some time. And the vision really is that once we have a good team in place, once we have a lot of these things kind of structured properly, and we raise the quality of the education and the quality of the extracurriculars that we can offer, and the quality of all of these things, and then we start to build and grow. At that point, once we get to those limits, we'll look at phase 2, right, of adding and expanding capacity. So those are some of the things that
what I see is that impacting the lives of these orphans and these underprivileged kids, who have so many challenges in their lives. If they stay where they come from, wherever they come from, villages mostly, and if they don't have a father, or if they don't have both parents, educating them and mentoring them in a way that the trajectory in their life changes from nothing to a successful human being, which could contribute to the development of the whole society.
Absolutely.
I think that's a noble cause, and that's the aspect of this project that I like the most, because impacting the lives of underprivileged, where most of the time nobody cares for them and they are to fend for themselves. They have no resources to take themselves out of their current situations. They have no foresight. They don't have a vision how to do that. Most of the time, they grind for the whole day. Their grind is to just sustain themselves. So hopefully, when you get out of these administrative issues which you're facing right now with CDA, and the project gets to completion, hopefully we see the completion of the vision of Fazil, and of course your mother, that she entrusted you with this responsibility, which is, I think, is a huge responsibility. I don't know, because it's not a small project. It takes millions and millions of dollars to finish it. So hopefully you can do it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. If you wanna, is there a website that like how do people contribute towards the project if somebody wants to do it? Maybe read something about it or watch, as you said, you have YouTube videos. Where could we do that? So
the website is baseratrust.org. So if you go to the website, www.baseratrust.org, the how to donate is listed there. So we've got some amazing partners. We've got Humanity International and Children of Hope in Canada.
Okay.
We've got iCare in the USA.
Okay.
And then there's also our banking details for people who are within Pakistan who can transfer money and make donations directly to Basera Trust. All of that information is on the website. There's pictures on the website. Our links to social media are on the website. So we have a presence on Facebook, and we've got our YouTube channel. We're on Instagram, I believe. So all of the links are on baseratrust.org.
That's cool.
And
Kashan, thank you very much, and good luck. It's a project that you've taken on while you're doing your professional business as well, where which is from where you make a living for yourself. But other than that, you have taken up this challenge to impact the lives of orphan kids and underprivileged kids. I commend you. I commend your efforts, and hopefully you'd be successful in this.
I appreciate that, Yasser. I just want to point out that this is not me. This is there's actually a whole team of people, volunteers and mentors and supporters that are doing this, that are working closely on this project.
Yeah.
The brainchild of this was my mother's project. She passed away last year.
God bless.
So we want to kind of take it to its completion. But there's a lot of people, a lot of
huge team.
Yeah, a lot of people involved. So I'm just the guy on the microphone right now. But
Blessed. Yeah.
We're very lucky. We've been very lucky, and especially with even with our partners, our Eye Care and Humanity and Children of Hope, and all the organizations working with us, just the volunteers, the mentors, the trustees.
And let's not forget Fazil, who's like actually the instigator of this whole thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I've seen his videos, and I appreciate his effort.
Absolutely.
He's a good guy. Thank you very much, Kashan.
Thank you, Yasser. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Have a good